The Mayans, a people who during the years 300 to 900 AD reached a peak in the advancement and creation of calendar systems, city-state networks, and a common widespread religious framework. They lived in what we now know as Central America, ranging from the Pectol region into the Yucatan Peninsula. They had a large peasant population that helped fuel this decentralized nation, using terracing and slash-burn techniques to cultivate and recultivate or refresh the land. It had its benefits, but over time the continued soil degradation led to weakening the Mayan Empire, along with deforestation, political fragmentation, and warring city-states. The Mayan Empire was in a decline long before Columbus arrived in the Americas. Although this was the case, his arrival brought many lasting impacts.
From the Mayan perspective, the arrival of European explorers in 1492 was a moment filled with both curiosity and apprehension. As these strangers stepped onto their land, the Mayans observed them with intrigue, noting their unfamiliar clothing and customs. Initially, there was a sense of wonder about the new goods and technologies the Europeans brought with them. However, this initial fascination was quickly overshadowed by a growing awareness of the threats they posed. Mayans, who had cultivated a rich and sophisticated society, sensed that these newcomers carried not just curiosity, but also the potential for conflict and devastation. As the exchanges began, the Mayans shared their knowledge of agriculture, including crops like maize and cacao, which were vital to their culture and economy. In return, they received wheat and livestock, but the cost of this exchange soon became clear.
After the initial exchanges between the Maya and the Spanish, many of the following interactions during the Spanish exploration of the Yucatan coast were hostile and violent. Much of this hostility was fueled by the connection the Maya made between the Spanish explorers and the ships that had waylaid and raided trading canoes some years before. After a failed ambush, the Mayans were driven out and had their city pillaged. The discovery of gold in the temples of the Maya were enough to keep Spanish interest, even after meeting such blatant hostility. The Spanish began their conquest of the Maya in 1523. Only a few years after subduing the Aztecs to the west. With the experience of seasoned veterans from the Aztec campaign and native allies, the Mayan warriors stood little chance.
By the mid-1500s, the Spanish had firmly established control over the Yucatan Peninsula. The Columbian exchange introduced new crops and animals, but also brought diseases like smallpox and measles, which decimated the Maya and contributed significantly to their collapse. Spanish colonization changed the traditional Mayan way of life, imposing new culture, religion, and governance. However, despite the destruction, the Mayans' influence persisted. Their agricultural practices, particularly the cultivation of crops like maize, cacao, and chili peppers, continued to shape the diets and economies of not only the Americas, but also Europe and beyond. Mayan knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and art also left a lasting impact on the region. The resilience of Mayan culture ensured that elements of their heritage survived, even under colonial rule. Today, the legacy of the Mayans lives on in the languages, customs, and agricultural contributions that remain a part of modern-day society.